my dear students. I am Chaitra, lecturer in biology at Shakthi PU College, Shakthi Nagar. In today's session, we shall be discussing about the important questions from the chapter Plant Kingdom. I shall discuss about the important questions, the weightage, how to prepare for this chapter, and what are the concepts that you need to focus on in this chapter. In this chapter, you will be focusing on the fourth kingdom of living organisms, that is the plant kingdom. You will study about all the subdivisions of the plant kingdom, starting from algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms and the angiosperms. We shall discuss about each topic in brief and we shall see how to prepare for the questions from each topic. We shall first start with the class algae. Now algae, as you all know, are the simplest plants. They have a simple thallus. They are found in both freshwater as well as marine. They are exclusively aquatic. There are three subdivisions under algae, that is chlorophyceae, phyophyceae, rhodophyceae, called the green algae, the brown algae and the red algae respectively. So the first important question that you can expect from this chapter for 3 marks is write a note on the subdivisions of algae. Students, the first thing that you're supposed to study in this chapter are the 3 classes of algae, that is chlorophyceae, phyophyceae and rhodophyceae. We'll start with the first class, that is chlorophyceae. As you have already seen, chlorophyceae is commonly called as the green algae. It is called green algae because it is green in color. Why is it green in color? Because it contains chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. Since these two chlorophyll pigments are present, the algae appears green in color and hence the name green algae. What is a common food that is stored in these algae? The common food is starch, which is a carbohydrate. So the carbohydrate stored in green algae is starch. What is the cell wall of green algae made of? The cell wall of algae is made up of cellulose, very important. So you can either have a full question on write a note on algae, or you can have sub questions for 1 mark, 2 marks or even 3 marks, wherein you are supposed to know the different pigments present, the storage material that is present as well as the cell wall component that is present. Coming to the next algae, that is the brown algae, commonly called as the Phyophyceae, which is especially marine. So this brown algae is made up of chlorophyll pigments A and C, as well as it contains a brown pigment which is called as the xanthophyll. Now the xanthophyll is belonging to a family of pigments which is called as fucoxanthin, which is brown in color. So these algae have golden brown in color. They can range anywhere from olive green to golden brown. Now coming to the storage material in brown algae, we have mannitol or laminarin as the storage material. Now both mannitol and laminarin are accepted answers, but if you do not want to take any risk, then mention both of them at a time. Coming to the cell wall component of this algae, the cell wall component is cellulose as well as algin. Cellulose and algin are present in the cell wall of this algae. Coming to the third class of algae, that is the red algae called rhodophyceae. The rhodophyceae appears red in color because they contain red pigments called phycoerythrin. Now the phycoerythrin is a red pigment giving the red color to the algae. What is the storage material found in this algae? The storage material is Floridian starch, which is again a slightly varied form of the starch which is made up of 2 components. If you revise it, amylose as well as amylopectin. So the Floridian starch is a slightly varied form of starch and this is the storage material in the red algae. Coming to the cell wall component, the cell wall of red algae is made up of a compound which is called as PSE, which stands for polysulfate esters. The polysulfate esters along with the cellulose form the cell wall of the red algae. With this, we have finished all the three classes of algae. It's very important that you learn this table, and next we shall proceed into the second plant, that is bryophytes. Bryophytes are commonly called the amphibians of plant kingdom because they are found both on land as well as water. Amphi means both and bio means life. So they have two lives. One is in land and the other is in water. But why do bryophytes live in water? This is because they need water for sexual reproduction. So the most important thing that you have to focus on under bryophytes is the sexual reproduction process that happens in bryophytes. Now, as in any plant, the bryophyte life cycle also includes two stages, the gametophytic stage and the sporophytic stage. Gameto stands for gametes and phyte stands for plant. So gametophyte is a stage of plant life cycle wherein the plant produces gametes, and in sporophytes the plant produces the spores. So we shall now see how the gametophyte and the sporophytes are produced in bryophytes. Reproduction in bryophytes starts with the gametophytic stage. The gametophyte will have the sex organs. The male sex organ is called the antheridium and the female sex organ is called the archegonium. Both the male and the female sex organs will produce the male gametes called the antherozoids and the female gametes called the egg. The egg and the antherozoids will be released into the water where they will meet, and when they meet, they undergo fertilization. When they fertilize, they produce as usual a single cell structure which is called as the zygote. Once the zygote is produced, it immediately divides to convert into a multicellular structure which is called as the sporophyte. The sporophyte will now undergo meiosis or reduction to form spores. The spores on germination will give rise to the gametophyte. So this is how the reproductive cycle takes place in bryophytes. It's very important that you know this, students. Next, we shall proceed into the importance of bryophytes. Again, an expected question: what is the importance of bryophytes? Coming to the economic importance of bryophytes. Bryophytes are of little economic importance to the mankind, but they are of great importance in the ecosystem. Bryophytes are called the pioneer species. Bryophytes, like mosses and lichens, are the first plants to grow on a barren land. So when we have a barren land and when the mosses and lichens grow on the barren land, what happens? The rocks break when these plants grow on them, creating the soil or the substratum for the growth of higher plants and finally leading to the formation of a community. A species called sphagnum is used as a fuel, and it is also used for the transshipment of living materials. Coming to the third use of bryophytes, it is used as a food for the herbaceous animals. And finally, bryophytes form a dense mat on the ground. As a result of this, they hold the soil particles together. So when there is falling rain, the soil erosion will not take place. The washing away of the top layer of soil will not take place. Thus, they help in prevention of soil erosion. This is a very important question for 2 marks, wherein you are expected to write at least 4 points. So students, with that we are done with the first half of the chapter. We shall end for today, and in the next session we shall look into the other classes like gymnosperms and angiosperms, and also a very important topic called alternation of generation. I hope you have made notes for today, you have listed down the questions, and you're preparing yourself for the exam. With that note, I shall end here. Have a nice day, students.